What if the choice you thought would be your liberation was actually the beginning of your greatest prison? What if, in exchanging the comfort of a new love for the silence of a worn-out marriage, you took with you a secret that would change everything? This is the story of Anna, a woman who left her husband in search of a dream that seemed perfect. But what she didn't know was that inside her she carried two hearts, two children, two chances to start over. Get ready for a journey where decisions have profound consequences, mistakes are real, and forgiveness is the only hope. You will experience pain, guilt, love, and rebirth. Stay until the end, because you will only understand the true meaning of love when you hear the two cries that changed everything. The sound of the clock on the wall was the only thing that filled the silence in the house. Anna stared out of the window, not really seeing what was outside. The dim morning light barely illuminated the room, as if even the sun was tired of coming back. James entered the room with a cup of coffee in his hands, wearing the same shirt he had been wearing since his last job interview. He didn't say anything. He just put the cup on the table and sat down on the sofa like someone repeating a forgotten routine. "We don't talk anymore," she said, without facing him. "We're here, aren't we? Is that being?" James sighed. His hand passed over his face, as if trying to erase an expression that had no name. "I feel like you're here, but your heart has already left." "Maybe he's just tired of waiting for changes that never come," she replied, her voice low but firm. He didn't respond. He just got up and went back to his room. It was that afternoon, when Anna went out to deliver a CV to a coffee shop, that she met Jonas. He was on the phone, discussing something about shares and investors, but interrupted everything when he saw her trying to collect papers that the wind had blown out of her bag. "Need some help?" he asked, already bent down beside her. "Only if you can hold back the wind," he replied with a tired smile. "I can try to convince the wind, but I'm better with people." She laughed, and it surprised her. How long had it been since she'd laughed lightly? "Anna!" She held out her hand, thanking him for his help. "Jonas," he said, holding on for a second longer than necessary. "If I were your man, I'd never leave you so blank." She swallowed. The sentence was a direct hit. Jonas didn't apologize. He continued to stare as if he had spoken an obvious statement. "I'm sorry. That was invasive." "It was sincere," she said, and she walked away, more confused than offended. That night, Anna couldn't sleep. Jonas's face came back like a reflection in the glass, and every sentence James had said over the last few months sounded even more distant. Deep down, she no longer knew whether she was still trying or just getting used to the absence of love. Jonas returned to the cafe the next day. So did she, and the third, until he pulled up a chair and went straight in. "Are you waiting for something to change in your life? Or for someone to come and take you away from it?" Anna didn't answer. But she didn't get up either. There, without realizing it, was a crack in the world she shared with James. A world of broken promises, uncomfortable silences, and love that had perhaps already become a memory. The sound of the clock on the wall was the only thing that filled the silence in the house. Anna stared out of the window, not really seeing what was outside. The dim morning light barely illuminated the room, as if even the sun was tired of coming back. James entered the room with a cup of coffee in his hands, wearing the same shirt he had been wearing since his last job interview. He didn't say anything. He just put the cup on the table and sat down on the sofa like someone repeating a forgotten routine. "We don't talk anymore," she said without facing him. "We're here, aren't we? Is that being?" James sighed. His hand passed over his face as if trying to erase an expression that had no name. "I feel like you're here, but your heart has already left." "Maybe he's just tired of waiting for changes that never come," she replied, her voice low but firm. He didn't respond. He just got up and went back to his room. It was that afternoon, when Anna went out to deliver a CV to a coffee shop, that she met Jonas. He was on the phone, discussing something about shares and investors, but interrupted everything when he saw her trying to collect papers that the wind had blown out of her bag. "Need some help?" he asked, already bent down beside her. "Only if you can hold back the wind," he replied with a tired smile. "I can try to convince the wind, but I'm better with people." She laughed, and it surprised her. How long had it been since she'd laughed lightly? "Anna," she held out her hand, thanking him for his help. "Jonas," he said, holding on for a second longer than necessary. "If I were your man, I'd never leave you so blank." She swallowed. The sentence was a direct hit. Jonas didn't apologize. He continued to stare as if he had spoken an obvious statement. "I'm sorry, that was invasive." "It was sincere," she said, and she walked away, more confused than offended. That night, Anna couldn't sleep. Jonas's face came back like a reflection in the glass, and every sentence James had said over the last few months sounded even more distant. Deep down, she no longer knew whether she was still trying or just getting used to the absence of love. Jonas returned to the cafe the next day. So did she, and the third, until he pulled up a chair and went straight in. "Are you waiting for something to change in your life? Or for someone to come and take you away from it?" Anna didn't answer, but she didn't get up either. There, without realizing it, was a crack in the world she shared with James, a world of broken promises, uncomfortable silences, and love that had perhaps already become a memory. Anna arrived home later than usual. James was already sitting at the table, shoveling cold dinner onto his plate. She hung her bag on the chair and avoided his gaze. "You're late," he said without emotion. "I had a long conversation." "Someone new at work?" he asked without hiding his suspicion. She stared at him, tired. "Do you want to know, or do you just want to confirm what you already think?" James sighed and got up, leaving his plate practically untouched. He went to his room without saying another word. The next morning, Anna's cell phone vibrated with a message from Jonas. "I don't want to share you with guilt. Come in one piece, or don't." She read the sentence 3 times. Her heart was heavy, but not from guilt, from exhaustion. The love she had for James was there, but covered in dust, and every attempt to wipe it away seemed to make it worse. She ran into Jonas in the same cafe. "Do you really want this?" she asked, before he could say anything. "I want you, but not halfway, not in silence, not hidden away. I want you looking forward, not back." "That's not so simple." "Life with him is simple?" Anna lowered her eyes. Her hands were shaking slightly. "I'm afraid of regretting it. If you have to regret it, let it be trying something new, not living in what drowns you." Those words kept throbbing in her head as she walked home. The wind seemed to push her away, the ground more unstable than usual. The next morning, James woke up to find her bed empty. On her pillow, an envelope. His hands hesitated before opening it. The paper trembled between his fingers. "James, I need to find myself again. I need to breathe. I need to remember who I was before I lost myself in the silence between us. This isn't an escape, it's a choice. Maybe wrong, maybe not. But it's mine. Forgive me for not saying it looking you in the eye, but if I had, I wouldn't have been able to leave." He sat on the bed and didn't cry. He just stood there, staring into the void. Hours later, Anna entered Jonas's apartment. It was spacious, modern, and overlooked the city, but there was something cold in the air. Still, she smiled. For the first time in a long time, she felt alive. Not because she was with Jonas, but because she had done something for herself. Jonas approached with 2 glasses of wine. He handed her one and gently touched her chin. "From now on, I don't want to look back." Anna toasted in silence, but deep down she felt something squirm inside her. Something small, uncomfortable, like a warning, like a forgotten detail that would soon require attention. James spent his days in an automatic state. The house seemed bigger, empty. The sound of the wind hitting the windows reminded him of the silence that used to irritate him. Now it hurt. He kept to the same routines, waking up early, making coffee for two, even if only one of them was having it. Every gesture was an attempt to preserve something that had already gone. On the second Sunday after Anna's departure, James was cleaning out the bathroom drawer when he found the small white envelope. It was a pregnancy test. His eyes locked onto the positive symbol, and for an instant, the world spun. "No," he whispered. "Not that." She sat on the floor with the test in her hands, as if it were a time bomb. His mind raced, trying to understand. Was it old? Recent? Whose? Anna had never mentioned it. Ever. He reread the note several times that night, looking for clues, between the lines, any shred of truth that he had overlooked. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Anna woke up feeling nauseous. She thought it was dinner, but the dizziness that followed left no doubt. Something was wrong. Jonas was sleeping next to her, the serene face of someone who didn't have to worry about tomorrow. Anna got up slowly, put on her slippers, and went to the bathroom. The image in the mirror startled her. She was pale, her eyes were deep, and she was tired from the inside. At the nearest pharmacy, she bought a pregnancy test. On the way back, her hands were shaking. 2 lines. Pink, strong, unmistakable. She sat on the edge of the bed and cried silently. Jonas was still asleep. The next day, she went to the clinic. The doctor examined her gently, then ordered an ultrasound. "You're 8 weeks along. He paused, smiling. "There are 2 heartbeats. They're twins." Anna's eyes widened. "Twins, are you sure?" "Absolutely. 2 hearts, 2 movements, 2 little miracles. And they're healthy." She didn't know whether to smile or faint. The doctor held her hand. "Have you told Dad?" Anna swallowed. "No. And he's not the man I'm with now." She left the clinic with the envelope in her hands, the ultrasound revealing what she still barely understood. In the elevator, she looked at the image of the 2 small dots and felt a strange mixture of fear and tenderness. "They're James," she thought. In the cab, Jonas called. "Everything okay? You've disappeared." "Yes, just sorting some things out." "Do you need me?" She hesitated. "Not yet." She hung up and looked at the window. Outside, everything looked the same, but inside, 2 hearts were beating, and each beat brought a new question. How to tell? Who to tell? And the most difficult, what would she do with the truth she was now carrying inside her body? Jonas's apartment was everything Anna had imagined when she decided to leave. Modern, spacious, with huge windows and a breathtaking view. But over time, that beauty began to seem cold. The silence there wasn't the same silence as before. It was sharp, full of expectation and control. Jonas was beginning to change. Small comments became criticisms. Kind gestures gave way to suspicious questions. "You look different," he said one evening, watching her as she poured wine. "Is there something you're hiding from me?" Anna tried to disguise it. "I'm just tired. It's been a lot at once." "Since when does tiredness hide a look?" She looked away. She smiled forcedly. But inside her, nervousness was growing. Her belly wasn't showing yet, but the changes in her body were clear. And the feeling that he was noticing something put her on constant alert. Jonas began to monitor her schedule. He wanted to know where she went, who she talked to, what she did when she was alone. "Don't you trust me?" she asked one evening. "Trust is built, Anna, and you still have one foot in the past, don't you?" She kept quiet. She thought about James more than she'd like to admit. And now, with her children growing inside her, it was as if he was present in some way. She hid the ultrasounds in a shoebox in the back of her closet. She avoided loud phone calls, used headphones, and exchanged messages with the doctor discreetly. Lying took more effort every day, and the fear that Jonas would find out made it even more unbearable. One afternoon, he entered the room without knocking and found her sitting on the bed, holding one of the tests. She hid it quickly, but he saw it. What was it? It was nothing, just a piece of paper. "Paper with your name on it, with a date. What are you hiding from me, Anna?" She tried to get up, but he held her arm. "You'd better tell me now, before I find out on my own." Anna's heart raced. Her throat went dry, but she pulled back, looking him in the eye. "It's not yours, and you have no right to know anything that comes from what you didn't help create." Jonas took a step back, shocked. "You're pregnant?" She nodded, silently. He took a deep breath. Then he let out a dry laugh. "And I thought I was the savior. Actually, I'm the consolation prize. I didn't come here after you for that," he replied. "But now I know I can't stay here for myself either." She left the room, locked herself in the bathroom, and cried. She cried for the lie, for the fear, for the certainty that she had lost herself trying to find herself, and for the doubt whether there was still a way back, and whether James would ever listen to her again. Jonas spent the rest of the night silent, but his silence wasn't passive. It was sharp, as if every minute was a tensioned rope about to snap. Anna remained in the room, sitting on the edge of the bed, her eyes fixed on the closed door. She no longer cried. Now she felt something more dangerous, courage. The next morning, Jonas appeared at the door with the ultrasound in his hands. The paper was crumpled, the corners bent, but the images were still clear. Are you going to explain it to me, or do you prefer to keep playing at secrecy?" Anna stood up slowly. She was pale, but firm. "I'm pregnant, with twins. And you thought hiding it from me was the best choice? They're not yours, Jonas." The silence that followed was icy. Jonas stared at her as if trying to understand where he had lost control. "So, you come to my house, sleep in my bed, and you're expecting another man's children? I came here trying to make a fresh start. I didn't know when I came. I found out later. And you thought you could carry on here as if nothing was happening." Anna took a deep breath. She felt the weight of the conversation pressing down on her chest, but she kept her voice steady. "I was afraid of everything, even of you." Jonas pressed his lips together. He walked over to the window and then turned back, his eyes full of restrained anger. "You should leave." She nodded. "I was expecting that." She had even mentally packed her suitcase the night before. "I'm going." He approached slowly. "Anna, I hope you know what you're doing, because from now on, you're on your own." She looked at him calmly. "I've been alone for a long time." That afternoon, Anna left Jonas's apartment. She left with a suitcase in her hands, her heart racing, and the certainty that nothing was ever going to be easy again. She took a cab and went straight to the only place that still made sense, no matter how much it hurt. The old house where she lived with James. The gate was as it always was. The garden, a little more neglected. He took a deep breath before ringing the doorbell. When the door opened, he appeared, thinner, more serious, looking tired. "Anna?" She tried to smile, but her watery eyes wouldn't let her. "I know I don't deserve it, but I need to tell you something." James crossed his arms. "You didn't invite her in. You can talk from here." She swallowed. "I'm pregnant. Twins. And they're yours." His expression didn't change. He just blinked once, slowly, as if digesting the information. "You left me without saying anything, and now you come back and tell me I'm about to be a father." "I didn't plan it, James, but it's the truth." He was silent for a moment, then said, "You left me when I needed you most. Now you come back with 2 reasons to stay?" She didn't answer. She just stood there, waiting, for the first time, afraid not of the answer, but of its absence. James left the door ajar and retreated into the house. Anna hesitated for a second, then entered. The familiar smell hit her like a punch in the stomach. Everything was there, the furniture in the same place, the curtains she had sewn herself, the marks of time where there had once been memories. "Sit down," he said, pointing to the sofa. His voice was neutral, without warmth, but without hostility. She obeyed. He sat in the armchair opposite, his elbows on his knees, his hands intertwined. "When did you find out?" "Shortly after I left." "And you didn't think I had a right to know?" Anna lowered her eyes. "I was scared. I thought you'd hate me, that you wouldn't believe me, and I didn't even know what to do with it." James shook his head in frustration. It's not about believing, Anna. It's about being a father, about being able to be there. I lost you, and now I've almost lost my children too, without even knowing they existed. She bit her lip, trying to hold back the tears. I know I made a mistake. And I'm not here asking you to take me back. I just needed you to know, to have the chance to decide what you want. He stood up and started walking around the room. The sound of footsteps echoed like a hammer in his chest. I thought I hated you. I thought I'd never be able to look at you again without remembering the pain that remained. But knowing that there are two lives growing inside you, lives that came from us. He stopped, looking at her. It changes everything, but it doesn't solve anything. Anna nodded. I don't expect it to. I just wish, maybe, you wanted to be part of it. Do you want me to fight for custody? No, I'm not here to fight. If you want to fight in court for the twins, I understand, but if you want to be there, for real, I accept. James sighed. He sat down again. I don't want to share. I want to participate, but I don't know if I can still love you. She looked into his eyes sweetly and honestly. And I don't expect you to love me now, but I hope that one day, maybe, we can be something new. Not like before. Like two people who made mistakes but still believe in rebuilding. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was necessary. He held out his hand and she took it. One step at a time. One step at a time. In that gesture there was still hurt, but also a spark of something more. A thin thread between the past and the future. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was the beginning of it. The dawn was cold, and Anna's breathing was labored when she felt the first contraction. She tightened the sheets and sat up in bed with difficulty. The room was silent, but time seemed to be pulsing in her belly. She tried to stand up on her own, but a new wave of pain made her sit down again. With an effort, she reached for her cell phone. "James," she said as soon as he answered. "Anna, it's happening." He didn't ask any more questions. He just answered, "I'm on my way." When she arrived, Anna was already sitting in the wheelchair that her neighbor had provided. James helped her into the car and held her hand the whole way. She screamed, she breathed, she trembled, but she wouldn't let go of his hand. "It's going to be okay," he kept saying over and over again. "I'm here." At the hospital, the nurses acted in a hurry. One of them, noticing the tension, approached James. "She needs emotional support. It's high risk because it's a twin pregnancy." He nodded, swallowing his fear. He was allowed into the delivery room. Anna was lying down, her face bathed in sweat, her eyes troubled. "You came," she murmured, almost without strength. "I've always been here, even far away." James's words were a balm. Anna squeezed his hand tightly while the medical team gave instructions. The tension grew with every minute. The baby's heartbeats echoed through the monitors, as if marking the countdown to something much bigger. "You can do it," he said. "They're coming. They want to see you, and so do I." A final cry, a high-pitched cry, then another. Two babies, two hearts, two beginnings. Anna cried silently. James held his two children in his arms, overcome with emotion. "They're small, but the responsibility is immense. Are we ready?" She looked at him, her eyes tired and full. "Maybe we never will be, but I want to try. If it's with you." He moved closer and kissed her forehead. The warmth of that gesture said everything that words could not. Later in the recovery room, the four of them were together. The babies were asleep. Anna held one of them, while James rocked the other in his arms. The sound of soft breathing filled the room with a rare peace. "They have your nose," said Anna, smiling. "But the eyes are yours, intense and sweet. It's going to be difficult, isn't it?" "It will be. But all that matters is that we're going to do it together." She stared at him. "Do you forgive me?" "I still don't. But today, I understand you. And this is the beginning." And in that silent dawn, between tears and promises, two broken souls began to sew themselves back together. There were no guarantees. But there was something stronger than fear. The decision to stay. Time passed slowly in the first few weeks. The routine was exhausting. full of feedings, diapers, alternating cries and almost sleepless nights. But in the midst of the chaos, Anna and James rediscovered something they had lost: partnership. James would wake up at dawn to heat bottles. Anna sang softly to the twins while cradling them in her lap. Their conversations were still cautious, like someone treading on unstable ground, but now they carried caution. It was true. One afternoon, while the babies were asleep, Anna was making tea in the kitchen. James walked in quietly and watched her for a few seconds. "Love doesn't disappear," he said unexpectedly. "It hides in the scars." Anna turned slowly, touched by the phrase. "And you learn to love it again, even if you're afraid." "I'm still afraid. So am I." He walked over to her. They stood face to face, eye to eye. "I want to try again, not because it's easier, but because it's with you." She smiled, not with relief, but with truth. "I don't promise to be perfect, and I don't expect perfection anymore. I just want us not to give up." As they sipped their tea in silence, the sound of crying interrupted the moment. James went into the bedroom before her. He took the baby in his arms, cradling him carefully. Anna watched from the doorway, her eyes watering. The next day, they went out together with the twins for the first time. The park was quiet. The sun was soft. Some people watched them with tenderness, and between one smile and another, Anna felt that perhaps she was learning to breathe again. In the distance, standing under a tree, Jonas watched them. He was thinner, his gaze harder. He saw James holding one of the babies. He saw Anna smiling. He didn't come any closer. He just looked. A man approached Jonas. "Are you going to talk to her?" "No, she's not my story anymore." The man nodded. Jonas took one last look and walked away down the opposite path. There was no anger in his steps, just a silent acknowledgement that it had never fully belonged to him. Back in the park, James held Anna's hand, their fingers intertwined. The babies were asleep in their baby carriages. The breeze passed by lightly like a blessing. "Do you think we can make it?" "I think we're already doing it," she replied. "One day at a time. And if storms come, we'll hold on tight. Now we have 4 hands." He smiled and kissed her lightly, without haste, as if to say, "We're here. We're still here." And in that simple instant, where the world seemed to breathe together, Anna knew that it was possible to start again, that love could be reborn, and that sometimes losing everything is what makes you finally find yourself.